My name is Markus. I spent most of my life in Berlin, a city that constantly breathes concrete and glass, a city that never sleeps, yet never embraces you. I was self-taught, making my way up from the bottom. I remember working as a waiter as a student, studying at night, running to lectures in the morning, then delivering orders again in the evening. I slept 3 hours and dreamed that one day I would have my own office. I achieved that dream. My office on the 20th floor overlooked the TV tower. In the evenings, the city lit up with thousands of lights. I looked at it and felt that I belonged to those lights. I loved the smell of fresh coffee waiting for me every morning at the cafe on the corner. I felt the taste of victory when people gathered in my office, waiting for my decision. But when I returned home, another world awaited me. The walls of the apartment were white and cold. My wife looked at me less and less as a husband, and my son less and less as a father. A wall of silence grew between us. Divorce was just a formality. We had lost each other long before. I remember the day my son shouted, "I hate you." His voice struck me harder than any blow of fate. I was left in an empty apartment, where every object reminded me not of success, but of defeat. And then I realized I had to disappear.
I bought a ticket to Thailand, almost without thinking. It felt like jumping into darkness, but I did not hesitate. When the plane landed, warmth washed over me. The air smelled of salt, flowers, and spices. Everything was so different from Berlin that for a moment I thought I must be dreaming. Here everything was colorful. Green palms, bright red flowers, the turquoise sea. I settled in a small house near the shore. The walls were lime-washed. The windows had no glass, only wooden shutters. But there was life there. Every morning I walked out onto the beach and watched the sun slowly rise over the horizon, painting the sky pink, golden, and violet. I bought a small sailboat. It was my way of finding freedom. I went out to sea and felt the wind fill the sails. The waves struck the hull, and for the first time in years I felt I was steering something real. At sea, there were no documents, no contracts, no calls, just me and the wind.
One day, the sea decided to remind me that freedom has a price. The sky suddenly darkened, the sun hid behind the clouds, the wind turned into a roar, the waves rose like mountains. I heard the hull of the boat creak. Salt burned my lips, water filled my eyes. I tried to hold the course, but a wave flipped me over. The wood cracked one last time. The yacht was torn apart on the reefs. I barely swam ashore. I lay on the sand, the water washing over me again and again, and I thought, maybe this is the end. I heard barking. At first I thought a hallucination, but then I saw a dog, and behind it, a girl. Her name was She had long black hair that glistened in the sun. Her eyes were dark, deep, and in them was something I hadn't seen in a long time. Care. She helped me stand, let me home. Her house smelled of rice, ginger, and lemongrass. I lay on her bed, listening to the wind play with the shutters, and for the first time in years, I felt alive. We started spending our days together. In the mornings, we went to the market. It was a sea of colors, red peppers, golden bananas, green limes, purple orchids. The air smelled of spices and fried meat. I bought little things for her. Coral earrings, wooden figurines. She laughed and said I was wasting money. In the evenings, we sat on the beach, looking at the moon reflected in the water.
She taught me to laugh for no reason. I taught her how to hold the sails. She loved to sing while walking, her voice soft and warm. I realized I was falling in love with her eyes, with her laughter, with this new life. One evening, when the sky was purple, I took her hand and said, "I want you to be with me forever." But I had to tell the truth. I told her about Berlin, the business, my wife, and my son who hated me. I feared she would leave. But she only looked into my eyes and whispered, "We'll leave the past to the sea. Our future begins here."
Ayam and I began living together. I helped her fix the house, nailed new boards, repaired the roof, painted the walls. She taught me to cook local dishes. At first, I clumsily chopped vegetables, confused spices, but she only laughed. We woke up early, walked barefoot on the sand, drank jasmine tea. In the evenings, we sat on the veranda and listened to the sea. Sometimes she put her head on my shoulder and said, "You know, you're starting to smile like a local." I felt I was being reborn.
But the past would not let me go. At night, I woke up from dreams where I heard my son's voice. "I hate you." One day I told Am about it. She silently brought me paper and a pen and said, "Write to him. You never tried." It took me a long time, but at last I wrote, "Son, I don't ask for forgiveness. I just want you to know I'm alive, and I regret every moment I was distant from you. If you ever want to, you will find me by the sea." I sent the letter by mail. Weeks passed, but no reply came.
6 months later, I decided to fly to Berlin. Assam came with me. For her, it was the first trip to Europe. She looked at the skyscrapers and said everything seemed made of glass and steel. I met my son. He had grown, become more serious. He looked at me as if I were a stranger. "What do you want?" he asked coldly. "Just to talk," I said. "I ruined everything, but I want to try to fix it." He was silent for a long time, then said, "You have a new life? Then live it. But I'm not ready." It hurt, but I understood. He had the right, and I had to wait.
We returned to Thailand. I felt peace again as I stepped barefoot on the hot sand. I realized I cannot force my son to forgive me, but I can be different now. I started helping local children, teaching them English, taking them out to sea, showing them how to hold the sails. They laughed, ran, and I imagined my son among them. Om hugged me and said, "You are still a father, and one day he will see that you've changed." The past remained in Berlin. The future was being born here on the shore. And even if my son does not forgive me tomorrow or the day after, I knew I was ready to wait, because now I had learned to live and to love.